Aloha and welcome to the new moon in Pisces 2024. I know it's a light load right now, and I welcome you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your commitment to yourself and the Pisces new moon. Feel free to add in the chat where you're from. The ancestors love when we acknowledge where we're from. And I will read it in just a moment. It's been Los Angeles, all right, and I'm gonna go ahead and share really quick so I can read this aloud. Open up the circle. How do I share my screen? Perfect. Let's get the present mode. Full screen. Ahead. Papa. Welcome. Oh, there we go. Crafting the Modern Goddess Moonifesting Virtual New Moon Gathering. This is the Pisces new moon. Today is the 8th of March, 2024. Welcome. Honoring the earth and the location, as we just did in the share box. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians and owners of the land on which we circle today, the people of the Chumash and the nation of the United States here in California, Ventura. I pay my respects to all the ancestral stewards of this land, elders past and present. And I'd like to add 7 generations past and 7 generations forward. And as all the other new moon schedules have followed previous months, this is the Moonifesting schedule for tonight. We'll have the welcome and intro, the opening circle, the cosmic information. We'll set intentions. We'll have crafting, a reading, and closing circle. Please gather your ritual items and arrive in a state of empty presence. Please take responsibility for the energy you bring into the space. This is a safe container for everyone. We're here because we grow through what we go through. And as goddesses, that's the intention, because we have a natural expansion, an ebb and flow. And sometimes the circles are large in person and smaller virtual, and sometimes they're larger on the virtual watching the video and smaller in person. As the sun starts to expand or contrast, you'll recognize how your energy flows with that. Do you have enough time in your day to fit in this at this very moment, or did the sun expand? So that's this whole intention. We grow through what we go through. So each month we'll take note of that. Take note of your everything. So let's just take a moment and settle into the circle. Calling in all our ancestors, past, present, and future, spirits, angel guides, anything that you'd like to bring in. And feel free to repeat after me in your own space. Around myself and those I love, I cast the ring pass not. Only pure love and good come from me. and only pure love and good come to me. And so it is. Welcome to the circle. Just checking in to see anybody else showing up in person. Let's go back to sharing the screen. All right, so the cosmic overview of the planet currently and how it relates to us today. This is really the modern day goddess concept, what I like to call the modern day goddess. Let me move this over. All right. So I'm going to be repeating some of the things from previous months because the theme of the year is big, and we're just getting started into a 20-year cycle, and that's even bigger. So staying present is really important. It's the age of Aquarius, the year of the dragon. We talked about that last month. And just as a reminder, if you haven't done that already, grab some Post-it notes, take your dry eraser pens, put it on the mirrors, whatever you need to do to remind yourself to stay in a frame of forward focus and clarity as life happens. Here's a couple things you can write down. The first one is, I wonder what will happen next. The next one, why am I so blessed? And if we can stay in the frame of mind, as simple as that sounds, maybe is, maybe not to you, say it out loud, clear your consciousness, bring your consciousness to the present moment of whatever the happening is, and just clear it. Why am I so blessed? And if you get into a habit, it'll start coming out of your mouth naturally, like a little bubble. Why am I so blessed? Ooh, I wonder what will happen next. So just find yourself repeating that every day, and it will really aid in the energy of the year, the overall energy of the year. So now stepping into the present moment and the year, because it's really a theme of the year. And this quote came through to me, and I really appreciated it. It says, few persons have the courage to appear as good as they really are. And that's by J.C. Har. And the notes I have here, this is so true. There is so much self-deprecation going on out there. Why do we fear our brilliance? Why do we hide our lights? We need to have the courage to shine, and we need to encourage each other to bring it on and to share our gifts to the world and with each other. This is the year of the light worker, and the light works through us, from us, out to the world. So we need to shine our brilliance. It's very important. And so I just want to put a little spot there for that, because here in Moonifesting, it's about going with the flow. It's about recognizing what you're up against and when you're going with something. So finding that within you, and each month you'll have an intention and those sheets, those PDFs, and hopefully you'll be able to create a book for you yourself, and you'll be able to see your whole year. So let's continue with the cosmic information for the current. There we go. New moon in Pisces, that's coming up this weekend. Pulling it a little early on a Friday night so people can have their weekend. It was requested in the beginning that I do that, and I am honoring that request. Even though the new moon is in a couple days, we're honoring it today. Pisces is the sign of the dreamer. Diving deep. The deeper, the darker of the ocean depth floor, you will find a Pisces. Pisces new moon reminds us to believe that our needs are being divinely met at all times. If you're ready to surrender to worry and fear, it's truly what's meant to be vulnerable, and embrace the sacred flow of the universe. The energy feels dreamy when you're in Pisces. It's very fluid. There's visionary, unbound by time and space because you are underwater, that underwater feeling. The energy when we communicate when we're in Pisces is like those little bubbles underwater. And if you were at the pier and I was here and I would try to talk to you underwater mermaid style, we would only be able to get so much information in a bubble. Very poignant, just enough to stay visionary and intuitive. So this new moon reminds us to stay in the power of spirit and allow nature to be with us at all times, freeing imagination, compassion for ourselves and then each other, finding faith again with ourselves and then within each other. And that universal oneness, like water, it's just everywhere. Pisces signifies that authenticity and integrity in our relationships with ourselves. Again, it comes back to us first, and then each other, and then with everything that we're connected to. And when we recognize that authenticity is integrity, we recognize that when it's in us, it's in everything. So it's really a beautiful place to be in right now. We're stepping in from the winter into the spring. So there's that last little darkness puff of rest before we step into that light. And in Pisces new moon, again, the dreaming, it's all about believing and then believing in what we don't believe in, like that mystical belief, that beyond, that space beyond space. And we know it's there. Regarding the physical body, Pisces organs are feet, toes. It's all about pineal gland, endorphins, melatonin. It's a water sign. And as I was talking about stepping into the equinox, so we're stepping into the vernal equinox here in California on the west. And if I know I have people signed up in Australia and on the other side of the world, you're in the autumnal equinox. So either way, you're still within the equinox. But I'm going to be focusing today on Ostara because I talked about the crone. So we're stepping into the maiden, which is the energy of newness, milking. It's at the balance point here at the world axis and around the world. So recognizing that balance, go outside and look at the shadow and see how your shadows are balanced. Are your movement? Do some yoga outside, dance outside, do some shadow play. It's really fun. The other thing that's nice and representative of spring are these round cakes. You don't think about it. Like, it's very, very witchy, very pagan, very ritualistic, very ceremonial. From crosses to crystals, you will find the round cake. You will find the round cake in the spring and the fall. It generally revolves around these particular moons and the sun conjunction. The cakes were baked in honor for the sun to return for the spring. There's lots of rituals about sharing cake. That includes a wedding ritual. A wedding ritual, when you have layered tiers of a round cake, represents each tier of your relationship as a married couple. And as you do a chewing ceremony or feed each other, that's part of this elaborate cake. There's also I know the Jewish, they don't have flour, so they have sponge cakes this time of year. The sponge cake definitely represents the spring and this round cake concept. If you're on the other side of the world and you're working in the fall, and when we hit the fall, we'll be talking about moon cakes. It's the same idea. In Asia, they have moon cakes and they're spongy in nature. So go eat cake this spring. Have some cake. Find a nice, healthy sponge cake or make one with your ingredients. Go outside, grab some herbs, maybe some lavender or some strawberry or something, and just like chop it in that cake and pop it in the oven and eat cake and share it with your friends. So the transformations that we're going to be experiencing this spring are they're big. They're really big. This is a 20-year cycle. So when we get this intuitive hit, write that down. It could be like a really big new enterprise, a new technology. You just need to allow it to be something that doesn't necessarily something you believe in now, but it could be something you believe in a little bit from now. So give yourself the freedom and have all open roads like that jackrabbit, the conejo that's just springy. You never know where they're going to go. And you'll have a unique opportunity to upgrade your own frequency and expand consciousness. This is truly, the next couple weeks is a really powerful time for that. The other thing that's really important that you want to jot down on a little note is you need to find a way to stop apologizing. Now, here in our house, we have a joke, but it's a serious joke because we have a habit of saying, I'm sorry, sorry. So we've turned our sorry, into surprise, surprise. So surprise yourself. Turn the sorries into surprises. It takes a tongue habit. It takes practice to change the word from sorry to surprise. It's a really great practice. And when you start walking down the street and running into people and saying surprise, they'll appreciate it or think you're just nuts, and everybody will get a good laugh out of it. So this is the time to start that practice. It's going to be a 20-year practice. So start today. It's a no people pleasing time of 20 years. We're stepping into the spring of action, cultivating your yes to yourself and no one else. So this is all about removing the guilt and the manipulation and shame of the past, of part of growing up, that karmic, that generational karma, as they like to say, generational karma. So spring is a great time, 20-year path. There we go. So again, every month I have different things that I like to focus on, that are just major conversation pieces in the universe that people say, oh, I feel this happening. So these are big happenings. When the planets move, that's a big happening. So we have something called an eclipse season coming up. You've heard me talk about it, wormhole. Wormhole is an eclipse season. It's cosmic consciousness talks about it like a Willy Wonka elevator, like a sideways elevator, and then it spins like a diamond, and you get off somewhere else. It's like you really don't know where you step in and where you get off are not the same thing. So you have to expect the unexpected during an eclipse season. And so at the end of this month, we're going to be stepping into an eclipse season. That next month, when we talk again, we'll be having another full solar eclipse again. Totally radical, awesome. If you're around the world, in our country, we'll be able to see it. And there's a whole path. You can look that up online. And that's coming up in a couple weeks. 4 weeks. But until then, we still have an eclipse cycle. It happens all the time. And Neptune is a major player in this eclipse cycle. So again, going back into that Pisces, dreamy. We're in the dreamy state. So until we get to April 1st, we're not going to really hit ground. So we're still floaty, we're still dreaming, we're still swimming in the compassionate, the etheric energy. But when we're hit Neptune in the 25th, which is also the full moon, it's going to be confusing. You might confuse that dreaminess and for intuitiveness when it's actually deceptive or escapism. So you're just finding a way to escape. So when you're in this space, you kind of have to discern, be mindful of what is adding clarity and light. So there's kind of fog happening, if that makes any sense. So anyway, as the sun starts to hit it and we step out of that eclipse season, because Neptune's going to be here for a minute, it's preparing to shift next year. So this energy of this higher vibration or this dreaminess or trying to figure out how you're going to escape, it's kind of here for a little bit. It's not going to run away. It's not disappearing anytime soon, not till next year. So pay attention to what the most valuable things are coming in for mastering yourself and your spiritual self, because this is about limitless spiritual selves. This is about evolving your consciousness. So it'll come in very foggy and dreamy. So recognize what's fog and then what is bringing light to the fog. So take a lot of notes is my point. And you won't be able to really discern those notes maybe until next year. It's still important to take the notes because you might get some really great insightful information that could be applied. Okay. The same day, we have the full moon in Libra. Again, the eclipse season. So this all starts on the 25th. We're bringing, so spring equinox, it brings like this big, powerful, dramatic energy of the sun, right? Everything's balanced. But then we've got Libra. Libra is a cardinal sign. It's a sign of mastery, and it emphasizes the need for balance within our own energy field rather than it being scattered. So we talked about that. New moon is also on par with the full moon. So this entire month is really about pulling it in and finding your highest truth for yourself first before sharing it outside with others. So the full moon emphasizes that need for that balance the same way. It also says it's time to reclaim your focus and your direction. And you want to redirect your energy towards stuff that truly matters rather than being hijacked by the demands of others. So by the end of this month, you'll recognize this really clear on what you want to press your priorities towards. You want to think about highlighting your life and balance as we explore equal, again, equinox, or the lack of equal. Like, what's not balanced? What's out of equal that you really want to bring in to alignment? So this full moon is teaching us a valuable lesson on seeing things as they really are versus what we desperately want them to be. And trust me, desire really can mess things up in this place. So I'm going to repeat that. teaching us the valuable lessons on seeing things as they are and not what we desperately want them to be. Energetically, it takes us to places we've never been. So if we can let that desire go, we can actually go to another level. A whole new dimensional level. It's the time now to just allow whatever comes in. Be curious. Don't get emotional about your responses. Just be curious about your emotional responses. And then you can take those fears and transform them into love. So the full moon is really a big moon. It sets the tone. It really does set the tone for the whole next season because it's big. It's so big that in ritualistic ancient cultures, this would be the day to collect your eggs. If you have an opportunity to find someone with their own hen house that you have an opportunity to have hens, go collect eggs. The morning of the first full moon of spring is the day to collect the eggs. Why? Because that's the most fertile eggs out of the entire year of those chickens. And legend has it, when the kids would go and collect their eggs, all their wishes would come to fertility, and kids can go dream. They have a different imagination cycle. They're futuristic. They can go beyond. They're led by spirit. It's also a way for them to connect and create a little charisma, possibly hook up and create a family, which is another way of meeting people. And isn't it funny that in modern day, we still go and have child egg gathering to this day? They have big events where you can go and collect your eggs with family, friends, churches. It's a thing still. Very pagan, just as pagan as bringing a Christmas tree in your house. So let's stop there for a second. That's a lot. Woo wee! How we doing? Let's go ahead and set some intentions. Let me pull back up the screen. So thinking about this month, the new moon, the dreamy cycle, and I'll just back up. Let me back up really quick. Let's see, what do we want? A courage to shine. What kind of courage do you need to shine when you're in the depths? Thinking about freeing your imagination, you dream and you believe, you're a mystic, opening that up. Let's take a moment, take a deep breath in. What would you like to let go and release? New moon Pisces. What would you like to bring in? And if but. Nice. Take a deep breath in. What would you like to let go? How would you like to shine your light and bring it in for this month? All right. Would you like to share?
Okay. Um,
Aloha.
Aloha. It's interesting, you talking about transforming our fears into love and being curious instead. I did a hard reading this morning and I was talking to a girlfriend last night, and that's just like literally hitting me over the head. Letting go of the saying I'm sorry, the apologizing, um, and having those fears that I'm not enough. So letting go of the apologies, the sorries, the not enough, the fear in general, and bringing in the curiosity, bringing in the uh, I wonder, you know, why I'm so fortunate. All of those elements in of flipping my script and looking at things in a different point of view in order to be able to be on a higher vibration and stay there.
Beautiful. Perfect. That's a perfect Pisces. Beautiful. I I'll go next. So, let's see. Yeah. Um, I feel the expansion happening. So there, with that expansion happening, I have my intuition kind of getting in the way a little bit. And so I'm in that Neptune fog feeling of what's real, what's not real. And so I have to let go of the idea of being intuitive and just be present and don't worry about it until it happens. So that's what I'm working on. And although, I've found myself liking to the habit of preparing for everything, expecting nothing, sometimes I don't know if that's valuable. So I'm considering that as a, in my balancing equinox act. And bringing in, as far as the big picture, I I'm just working on just really staying focused on completing some of these projects that I started a long time ago that I just need to get launched. So there's some great opportunities happening. I'm thinking a little bit differently, and I definitely feel a big move happening, and I don't know what it is. Except I know, for all of you watching right here, you're gonna laugh at me when you see the video, and then when next month when we talk about this, I kind of already feel like I know something's gonna happen on the full moon or in that time, and then it's gonna literally shift. It'll be a 60-day boom, 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 because it'll be during the eclipse cycle that everything happens. So whatever comes in during this eclipse cycle, you just want to go with it. Don't fight it. Say, yes, thank you. What's next? Yes, thank you. Even if it's like, what? Why would that be happening during now? You say yes, thank you, because it's preparing you for something else. You just don't know it yet. So that's really I'm feeling that. I'm sure everybody else is feeling that as well.
Yeah. Yes, thank you has been something I've been trying to do more myself. I've had a couple of opportunities lately where I was like, sure, why not? Yes, thank you. And I went, that was cool. Nice. I needed that. That was perfect. And so yes, yes, thank you has been good, because oftentimes I'm a no. So
Right. No's aren't going to get us very far. I mean, no's are going to, yeah, we want to say yes to everything, I think. Pretty much, you know, except spending, just be mindful of certain things. There's some people can spend. If you can, do it. And then there's other people who are like, not so much. Be mindful. Trust yourself. Things are shifting. Pluto, it's that Pluto energy. Pop, pop, pop. All right. So intentions are set. I welcome all of the other intentions out there in the circle of everybody who joins us. I see your intention. I'm here for you. And so it is. Moonifesting. All right. So here we go. We've got our colorful. I changed the colors to go with the Pisces colors. And here's the and if buts, which is really good. Again, you should be making your books. Like you could use these in every month, fill these out, and you will have a book by the end of the year. That's why I did it this way. Modern age of moons. I'm repeating some of this because we went through them kind of quickly. It's really important to think about how you do your business, how you do your life. And for those who have children, how you're able, if you can, cycle some of the stuff you do with your family around this as well. Because it's important to yourself. The stronger you are, you can help others. You can't help others unless you're balanced with yourself. So thinking about how you're able to do your life, even like I giggle, but like this, where I go to this next slide, where I call it lunar hygiene. Our mothers did not teach us when to change the sponge. Our mothers did not teach us when to change your loofah or your toothbrush. I mean, my mom can't keep anything alive when it comes to a plant, but some people can do plants. But for most of you who don't know how to do plants, plants can be as simple as following the moon cycle. You put, especially like orchids, like we goddesses like orchids, we could go to Trader Joe's and get a couple orchids, or Costco, or wherever you can find your fresh orchids at your local farmer's market. They have growers. It only takes 2 ice cubes. You put 2 ice cubes in the new moon, 2 ice cubes on the full moon. Your plant is watered and it will reproduce. If you live in a climate that it's super, super hot during the summer months and it dries out way too quickly, you can put 1 ice cube in between on the other moons, okay, like to balance it out. But you don't want to overwater. A lot of people just overwater their plants. So I say, because this goes all the way back to the almanac days. Our farming concepts are all lunar. There's the micro and the macro. The way planting was done is no different than the way we should run our house, our business, this lunar hygiene. It's the exact same thing. You've got your cosmic, your macro, right? Your cosmic, your moon cycles, sun cycles, everything in the garden is going to be growing at different times. Different things will be growing at different times depending on the shade, the sun, etc. This is very farmer, like very this is old, ancient concepts. So the macro, Mike, macro, micro is the earth. The macro is the cosmic. It takes both. So if we just think about ourselves being the earth for a second, and in that spring planting the seed format with the dirts and the flowers. The flowers don't come. We have to plant the seed. This is that time where's the best time the sun's going to hit the garden? Are you going to Does the weed come on that side, or should the weeds grow on the other side with the other herbs? Because weeds and herbs are generally the same thing unless they're out of place. If weeds grow in the flower section, they're weeds. So it's really funny how we can like look at that. This is all lunar hygiene. On a professional level, you can set a schedule of how you want to go in to charge your things, your banks, your battery chargers, your files, um, your headsets, things that need a timeline. You're not going to keep them plugged in all the time, but you want to make sure they're charged. Those types of things. You want to take a video of your entire everything you own. You want to make sure that you have a video of everything you own up to date at all the times. You can file, set organization. So, lunar hygiene, just a good practice. And then nothing happens on the same day. It's constantly flowing through the whole month. And here's another planner. Again, for the whole month, if you want to do your lunar hygiene, you can have your fortnightly every 2 weeks. Something happens, maybe once a new moon, you're going to put on your calendar, you're going to do this once a new moon. So, what works for you with your lunar hygiene? And when you set your calendar, you can go into your devices and then you can set your calendar on your devices. If you have an assistant, you can tell your assistant on these days that that's what you need cleaned or worked on, etc. So this is your business, this is your life, and you can have everything start manifesting around the moons. Crafting. Ah, so crafting is really important, and I like to say that it's like the most important thing because when we take our hands and we start repurposing using playful ways of doing something, it takes what we're asking for an intention and we're putting it into action. It's a nice manifesting energy. Here's another sheet. If you have your crafting tools and you don't want to do it today, you have it on your own time and you're doing it your own way. Here's a sheet for you. You have your intentions, what you're grateful for now, your flow cycle. Like today, I'm on day 15. Even though I don't bleed anymore, I'm in postmenopause. I'm on day 15 of my cycle. It's really important to know what day you are on your cycle. It does coincide with the moon generally. What the recipe is for your craft, the ingredients for your craft, how your sleep is with your flow cycle, your energy level of the current. And then at the very bottom, the results, because you want to manifest. How did you measure your results? What date did the energy that you and set intention today manifest? This is your book. And I keep picking up the sponges because today's Pisces new moon calls dream state. So it's really about intuitive guidance, recognizing, being open. And there's a couple ways we can really use sponges. It's a ritual for purification on an emotional absorption level. It's also a time for holding and or healing on emotional level. So we're using the sponge today. There's different kinds of sponges. I have a kitchen sponge that I decided to get all silly and cut up because I tried, oh, make it look like a moon. And then so I got it looking like this, and that was just too small. so so I was playing with my different sponges, and then I have a facial sponge. But the idea of the sponge is so much more than just like having a facial sponge, because when you start looking at a natural sponge or one of these kitchen sponges, you'll notice the actual holes. And that absorption, that when it sucks up and absorbs in these holes versus these tighter holes, I kind of like the bigger holes personally, but it's totally up to you. The idea of the holes is it represents what's soaking up, what you're going to be seeping in to that sponge, like a purification, anything that no longer serves. You keep a little dish with water. You can put the little sponge. You set your intention with your sponge, what you want it, and you can sit it in the little dish with water. And there's a couple ways we can do this. So you have your dish with your water. You have a ritual bath. Pisces are known for their soaking of their feet. We talked about that. So there's a few ways we can do this, and it's really up to you. Let's see here. So you can take, if you want it for the house and you want it like a projections charm, you want to take the sponge in a bowl of water and put it by the front door, and it will catch, you keep it dry, and it'll catch any hexes and bad thoughts, anything evil eye thrown towards your house. Okay? And at that time, you'll discard the water. Maybe you'll want to flush it down the toilet, put it down the street on the gutter. The sponge acts just as the name says. It like sucks anything unwanted out as it may enter the house. You want a clean home. It can contribute to a sense of calm and well-being, which indirectly helps reduce feelings of negativity and depression. So that's my second option. I put it number one because a lot of people, first thing they think of is like, oh, I'll do the sponge by the door. But I actually think we should go a step further in manifesting here in our group, if you will so dare. Choose option two. It's the subconscious dreamer cleanser. So you want to take the same idea. The sponge can trap anything misaligned. So you'll take your sponge, you'll put it in your bowl of water, and you'll place it by your head when you sleep. And all the subconscious, as you sleep, when you wake up in the morning, it's going to catch those emotions, those thoughts, those feelings that need attention. And as soon as you have a waking consciousness, you take your sponge and you squeeze it on your face. Or you can squeeze it on your feet, however feels right for you. And then take notes, because all the energy is going to reside in the sponge. So if you're a journaler, this is a really great practice to do for journaling. And it may actually do some dream recall as well. So that's a consciousness dream cleaner and recall. Squeeze it out. The other way you can play with your desire and the sponge is with manifesting. So I have seeds here also, these sunflower seeds that came from my sunflower. Ah, yay! Yeah, perfect. So the idea is the same thing. You take your sponge, you set your intentions with the idea of all these holes being filled up with the desirable manifestation. You're going to slit a hole into your sponge and slide the seed in there, and then plop it into your little dish of water. You want to make sure that the sponge stays moist, not soaking wet, moist. So it'll start to sprout. You can watch it grow. So going back, let's see, there we go. Going back, the Pisces new moon sponge ritual, you could have a big, huge sponge in your bathtub. Maybe none of these things you want to practice, but you have big, huge sponge in your bathtub, and you love big baths. Do the same thing in your bathtub. Imagine your sponge being dry. Focus on the energy of your sponge, soaking up all the purities. So if you wanted to take a dry sponge before you got in and give yourself a dry sponge rub. You could start your legs going up and take that dry sponge and absorb all the energy dry before you get into your tub. Imagine that sponge doing that. Same thing, you can work on your feet as well. So let's take a moment. I'm going to stop the share. Go ahead. So you had sunflower seeds as well?
I did. Now I have a question because
Sure.
the first one and the second one were different in what their intentions were. You had the clearing stuff from the home. The other one dealing with mental stuff. What was the intention of planting?
Planting and watching manifestation grow, so staying present, because when we're so emotional, right, it's hard to stay present. When we're emotional, a lot of times when we're living in a place of anxiety does not sit in present. Anxiety sits in the past or the future. So that goes back to what I'm saying about being intuitive. Like, being intuitive, even though you might see something and know something in your subconscious, is it really happening? And that's where we're at. Like, new moon in Pisces is really about that energy. And the sponge is a great tool. I mean, it's a modern day household item, but there's so many ways we can use it. And try it. Like, cut your sponge into little pieces and try them all. So yes, protection is one, because you know, not everybody lives in the same kind of neighborhood. You might live in an apartment building, and having the different layers around you and beside you, people walking by your door, you might want the sponge by your door next to your evil eye. All right. Anything else I can share about that? No?
I think I got it.
It's just it's an easy craft that we could do on our own time in our own little space, and we can expand it on the weekend, this weekend. Let's go ahead and uh, there we go. Oh, no, reading. Okay. How much should we have? So, let's see. Do you want to read? Do you have cards that you want to read? No? Okay. So I was going to, this other one didn't open up, so I'll go with the dolphins. So let's just take a moment. Feeling the watery Pisces, Pisces sun, Pisces moon. The last little bit of winter before we step into spring. That dawn before the dusk feeling. All right. So the first card is caution, nets ahead. Interesting. Caution, nets ahead. Second card, guidance. Well, that's appropriate. Guidance. And our third, learning from delight. Learning from delight. That's perfect. That's so perfect because we're just stepping in from delight. So the first one is caution nets ahead. The second one is guidance. And the third one is learning from delight. All right. And this is what those cards look like on the other side. So you can see that we're in flow. And one last thing really quick about that tribe, the orcas. I learned something really spectacular about the orca tribe. Their matriarch is the grandma. The entire orca tribe follows the grandma, and all the little grand calves follow grandma. So within the tribe of our biggest ocean, the women still rule. The goddesses we are. All right. So let's take a moment and step into a place of gratitude for today. Thank you so much for attending the new moon in Pisces. I'm blessed that you came in person, etherically, from near and far. Let's take a moment as we close circle. We say to each other each new moon, the circle is open but unbroken. May the peace of the goddess stay in your heart. Merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again. Thank you for coming. Namaste. The next new moon is on the 4th of April at 5:30 Pacific time, and we'll be in Aries. So mark your calendars, and we'll have it recorded for those of you who are unable to attend this time zone. I appreciate you coming today for new moon. I'm so blessed to have you in my circle of Moonifesting, and may you have a wonderful, wonderful equinox. Let's take one deep breath in together and a nice big Om. Namaste. Enjoy your month.